Good morning, good morning, good morning. MJ here. How y'all doing? It is 5:25 a.m. on the East Coast of the United States, where I'm at. And I hope you had a good Merry Christmas. This is the reading for the 26th. I will go over a little bit of just what happened on where we left off on the 25th. I'll go over a little bit of that just to kind of refresh where we're headed. All right. One thing I want to say is subscribe to the channel. You support me that way. Also by clicking the thumbs up, liking the videos, liking my work and what I do. Comment below with any questions you may have, comments you may have. And so if you're ready, we'll go ahead and move on. All right. What you're looking at, put up there so you'll remember all my times that I give you are Eastern Standard Time, so you will need to adjust accordingly to your time. Okay. I'm going to start off here where we left off on the 25th. At 9:08 p.m. And what we had was a mess. We had a lot of extra activity. And what I feel is that set this kind of off is the moon being in this opposition to Mars. And there it formed through its opposition with Mars from Gemini to Sagittarius, because Mercury's debilitated because the moon is in its house, and it's in opposition to its home spot because we know that Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So it created this opposition, and from that formed a trapezoid, which again I went over what that is. Opposing something here and trying to build something, but there's some opposition to it. Whatever it is you're trying to create the foundation, there's something missing here because you're not seeing the whole picture. This is in the 3rd house, 5th house, 7th house, 9th house. So it's a house where we think, starting off with the 3rd house, we're thinking about how we feel. Do we act upon what we feel? With this opposition to Mars, opposing something, or not rethinking, possibly because the other trapezoid was dealing, as you can see, with Mercury, and Mercury heading back toward Mars. It may be rethinking something here in actions. Rethinking something in our actions, or an opposition to something. It definitely has to do with what you think. Your emotion or your thoughts are being ruled or controlled by your emotions, because the moon is headed to this into Cancer for the full moon, which is going to be very intense. It's going to be in its home sign, in the area of home of Cancer. Now, may be different for each one of you, depending on where your 1st house is. But it's that place of where we feel emotional security, that makes us feel like we can maybe being cradled in some way, because this is also known as a cradle. But we're missing something here. And then let's go ahead, and then after midnight, we're going to go ahead and start on the 26th, which is the day starts, or the date starts new after midnight, early morning hours, but actually the day of the 26th doesn't begin until the sunrise, and we'll discuss that as well. So, almost an hour, this is 58 minutes after midnight. The moon here, still being in Gemini at 25 degrees now, is squaring Pluto. Oh, I'm sorry, Neptune. I got to look at these real close. Only got the one eye, remember. So if you're new, remember I only got one partial vision here. And so it's the moon in Gemini squaring Neptune. And again, you know, the moon is all about how we express our emotions. There's still the mystical rectangle, or what they would call Satan's or Lucifer's rectangle. So is something here dealing with this opposition of the moon to Mercury, and what's forming this is the sextiles trying to activate your mind, or you've got to activate your mind about something of the past, because it's headed to the south node. Mercury's attention is over there with the south node, something from the past relationship, something maybe on your actions in the past, trying to maybe remember what you've done in the past. It's a mind thing, and it's being controlled by the emotions. This moon is bringing that out, memories, nostalgia. Also, it goes from the moon with the sextile over to the north node. So there's something between how you felt about something in the past. Could very well be it's activating the mind. The emotions are activating the mind to revisit, rethink something out that's dealing with the past, but it's going to affect the future. And when I'm talking about Lucifer's rectangle, or the mystical rectangle, we're talking about where something may have been that you felt comfort, because the two walls here, more or less, is forming the sides of the rectangle, are triangles. You felt maybe very comfortable with someone from the past. And you're rethinking something here. Your emotions are in this nostalgia mood that it's bringing up these feelings, memories, maybe from the past. It's activating the mind to think about the future and how the future could be more comfortable, or you could be more comfortable with that other person from the past. Get it? So it's like Satan is what, you know, again, with it being so close to Mars, and also the moon being conjunct, because we got Mercury in conjunction. Something's being highlighted here with the sun in conjunction with Mercury. Mercury being conjunction with Mars. It's almost like you felt like something took over you or possessed you to do something here, to let maybe someone go from the past, or ended something, but it was out of your control. It was like there was evil all around, made you do, maybe acted terribly at something here. And it's affecting the emotions as well as making you think. Then it goes from, because the moon is activating the thoughts, But then once the thoughts happen and it gets activated, then we're looking at the Mars energy here, where the sun's conjunct with Mercury. Mind gets activated, something gets illuminated or brought out into the light. I would say more of an illumination, because these are in oppositions, and that's where something becomes illuminated or frustrated. And you're frustrated maybe about something you've done in the past that you felt like you had no control over. There was something evil that created your actions, made you act the way you did. And it's like, you may think, 'cause some people will do things that is completely out of character for them. And they're wondering what came over me to act that way? Or what was it that brought it out in me? And how now those actions from the past is going to affect the future. And how can you heal those things? Because, with Chiron there, and it's the North Node coming closer to Chiron. Chiron's all about health. So you're being, and also it has an association to Virgo, which is a healer. Something that's unhealthy, you want to heal it. And with these being at, these nodes being at 22, it's like an end cycle, a structure of something that kind of took over you. And with this now, where the ascending is in the 7th house here, this is coming up. But there's an opposition from the ascending. Something here needs to be healed. And we've got Chiron in a fire element, cardinal sign, and we have air in the 7th house. And what happens when the air meets fire? It's like an explosion. But it's again, it's like having to heal from something here. And also with Chiron in that square to the midheaven, your home, family, your emotional security here. Now, what we have after this is going to be 4 squares, T-squares. First, it starts off with the moon to Mercury. And the apex on this is all the T-squares, what they're focused toward is Neptune here at 25 degrees. See, the moon's at 25 degrees. Pisces is also affected by the moon. It is dealing with give me just a second. With things with the high priestess, things high priestess is that lunar cycle, it's the areas between the first quarter of the moon to the full moon to the last quarter of the moon. Has a lot to do with that lunar cycle. She's also has the moral or the laws of heaven and earth, that there has to be some emotional healing here. How do I, maybe getting even someone to think, I kind of got myself in a quadrant here and I need to do something about it. And it's sort of this challenge. And when you deal with challenges, and I always say take them on, because it's up to you whether you're going to do something about it or not. If you do nothing about it, then it displays what's inside of you, the characteristic of the person inside, what you're made of. Do you face challenges? Do you correct things where there is blockages in your life? Because if you don't, then these blockages stay forever. They'll always be with you. And it creates this sort of karma because you're not dealing with something. So what? You're going to keep living in it, or you're going to look at it and say, okay, I'm going to do something here about this because I can't build a future if I don't clear up my foundation that was destroyed by something, you know, with evil intent to it. And I'm not sure if I'm looking at there's not a yod here, but I'm looking at the quincunxes, with this sextile between Venus and Pluto, but there's no yod showing, unless there is one here that has to deal with the goal, the aspiration, the plan. We'll see in a minute if 2 hours from now that's showing. But right now we're facing the square here of the moon and Mercury to Neptune. And then the next one we have during this time for the next couple hours, these are things you're going to be dealing with here for the next couple of hours from that 58 minutes, to the 2:16 in the morning. Could be dreams that you're having of your past actions. Your mind's activated, and it's you're not being able to rest, or you're having these dreams. I know I had one the other night, didn't kind of like I couldn't remember everything. It was just bits and pieces, but it was something deep in subconscious in myself that was coming out. Again, we have the opposition here from Mercury to Vesta, which again is that keeper of the spiritual flame that connects something here within your thoughts and your feelings that's alive. It's burning. There's something here burning. And remember what I said earlier about when this air meets this fire, something fiery here for the future that you're passionate about, that we're all passionate about going to a future and building a future. But then a lot of times we look in relationships of people that we know or knew that we could build the future with. And it felt like home. So, and again, these 2 points where there's an opposition here, there's the squares still going to Neptune. And Neptune can be a spiritual vision you may have about something here, where the divine comes in and gives you this vision of something. It keeps going at you and keeps going at you to get you to awaken you, to illuminate something, to show you something that you may be struggling with. Again, now we go back to where now it's the moon with Mars. Your actions, your behavior of something here, how it interfered, or whatever those mystical rectangles or Lucifer's rectangles where you were almost like possessed to do. It was kind of like sort of a possession, of something evil that came in, and you were like possessed that, I just want to escape something, or I just want to just destroy things. And that's what Satan does. That's what Lucifer does. And it all had to do with Pluto, who was the destroyer, Hades, hell. You brought hell into your life. You welcomed it in. Because apparently you didn't do something here to stop it from coming in. And now it's like you've got all these stumbling blocks going on, something you're trying to build here or whatever, and nothing seems to be going right. Because either one, there was no closure of what was already done, or there was no healing from it. And if you don't do the work, guess what? You create karma and you're going to suffer for it. So we have with now is something with Moon, your emotions about the actions. Mars is the action, is the driver, is the vessel, is the passion. And then we have the T square here again that goes from Mars. Remember, it was with Mercury, mind being activated and feeling it. Then there was Mercury with now how I have affected my plans for the future because of what's happened. And then now it's the Moon to Mars. How am I going to act now? Am I going to heal something here? This is going to be really, really intense because we're going into that full moon in Cancer. I don't care wherever it may be in your house or in your chart, in this, whatever house it's in, Cancer's in it, it's going to affect that house very strongly. The last thing we have here is now, how you going to act? And all of it centers around Pluto here, the soul depositor. That's all this has to deal with. Because the moon is in a square to Neptune. And it's that spiritual vision, your creative imagination, your psychic ability to lead you beyond the materialistic world, the materiality of everything. It takes you beyond everything else around you. The best way I can describe it, it's almost like everything that's materialistic around you doesn't matter. You can't see it. Or if you do see it, it's not what you want it to be. Your world is not in the way you want to see it or how you had one time had planned for your life to be. What are you going to do about it? And you need to make the decision. Please, people, listen. If you are an adult and whatever you going, do not, it's okay to discuss it with somebody that's real close. But really, is this other person going to give you good advice? Are you getting advice from a professional? And are you being honest with them? No, that's the first thing, is being totally honest about what you feel, what you've done, how you communicate, or whatever this is being honest. Lies get you nowhere except more trouble. Not being honest about the whole thing. Because that's what Lucifer likes to trap you into these lies and deceptions. And keep you stuck. Next thing we have, like I said, that 2:16 in the morning, that this is going to go on for a couple of hours. Oh, crap. At 2:16, you're really dealing with it. Let's throw another couple of things in there. With two more mystic triangles. Let me tell you something. When you start fighting the devil, man, it's going to do everything it can do to dissuade you. And this is all definitely dealing not only with Neptune and these squares that are going on that I've already went over, okay? Because they're the same squares. But you got to be careful of what is going on here because, again, a lot of this is dealing with the South Node here. Whatever cycle you're in. Did I hit the right one? whatever cycle you're going on right now, crap, whatever you may dealing with has to do with this south node, and it definitely has to deal with this north node that you're trapped in, the past and the future. Because as you can see right here, right down this line, what you see is the south node and the north node. And it's what you feel to what you think. This emotions are really activating things here, and your actions and your thoughts. And this is with that ascending that past the south node. All this was coming up at this time in the morning. So I would say some people were probably having some kind of nightmarish or some sort of evil spiritual vision. I've heard where people have had those. I've seen it myself, where someone would actually be spiritually attacked by something that is evil. And you can actually feel the presence, because I've seen it myself. I wouldn't have believed it unless if I had not seen it. And it's a scary thing. I've experienced it a couple of times, 3 times. I've experienced it with this, being around this certain person. I've experienced that Lucifer rectangle, where that spirit around them in the dark of the night. Because remember, they don't come out. This evil doesn't come out during the day. It comes out at night, in the dark. It likes the dark. And since I'm a very spiritual person and have that light in me, I can sense it. I can feel it, that it's around, or see it. I illuminate it and see it. There's been times when I felt like there was some feminine evil entity around that didn't want me there, or that to actually see something in a cloak, and I mean it's. But the thing of it is, I wasn't afraid. I didn't fear it. Why should it? If you're in the light, should you fear something that's evil? When your heart is pure and good, and it's honest, and you're honest and you're truthful, and you're living in the light. You don't live in the dark. You don't lie. You don't cheat. You don't steal. You don't do all those things. You just want to. Try to live a wholesome, good life, and you're trying to do good work. Why would you fear something like that? But I could sense it, that it was there. So, I've dealt with this thing, and it's still with the T-squares that I seen earlier, but it's thrown 2 more Lucifer's rectangles or mystical rectangles in here. There's something that somebody's dealing with, something here that is not very good. That somebody here is going to have a very, I tell you what, this would be the time, during this time while this is going on, that would be a very humbling experience for me, that I would fall to my knees and cry or scream out to God to save me. This is where I would really ask God to save me. Get me out of hell here. Release me from hell. As you did the ones, and you went to hell after your resurrection. Because I don't know if all of y'all know, but Jesus Christ spent 3 days in hell, releasing all of those from the old law or the Old Testament. After his death and he resurrected, he went to hell. He had the key to hell. So, and he freed, he unlocked the chains of all of those that were there waiting for him. So this would be the time that I would, I would be crying out to my God because, like I said, I had no fear when I saw it and felt it. You ever had something come around you and you're there and all of a sudden it tells you you're not wanted here? And you go, something don't feel right. And it's like you need to leave. I mean, I could literally feel a feminine energy around that was dark. And when I was telling you the other day about Venus, and she goes under a lot of different names, yeah. And with Venus being in her detriment and influencing the thoughts in the mind, yeah. And with Mercury being at 26 degrees, you better believe I'd be calling out to God. My voice would be so loud, screaming out. And then at 2:56, now all this was brought about because of the moon in Gemini in a quincunx with Venus. Remember I said something about here earlier that it looked like I saw a yod forming, which is the finger of God? God can stop this, whatever it is, but you've got to call out for it. Save me. And the next thing we have here at 2:55, we got a trapezoid now. We lost 2 of the mystical rectangles that had to do with something, it's still with the past and the future. The moon in this sextile about the future, and Mercury to the south node, bringing this up in these trions from the moon to the south node. These are your trions. The moon's, you got the walls here, and the north Mercury to the north node, rethinking the future, activating the mind's being activated about the past, but it's thinking about the future too as well, and what you feel. And again, we're seeing this, and this is all coming on because the moon in Gemini in an opposition to to Mercury. And then we have all the squares still here. And this is like 5 minutes to 3 in the morning. The day is not over yet. I mean, so we're spending almost 3 hours in this. Whoever this is, going through this. And then the last thing we have is this trapezoid, where the focus is here in the foundation, where something is being illuminated, where there is restrictions, limitations. Something is holding you back. And I feel like it's got to be all this is going on here. Whatever you're trying to build here is going to fail. Because you're trying to stay in this comfort zone. And we have Jupiter that's fixing to go direct in opposition to the ascending. The stability you want. There's something of a fixed something where you have to change your values, or even feeling like, you know, sometimes we let the devil deceive us into thinking that we're not worthy of something. We all have a worth. We're all valuable. Don't sell your soul out. Because if you do, you're going to spend eternity in hell, a life of hell. We're all have value to us in some form, some way. So, if it's a feeling of your values, your moral values, or whatever this is that you're going over and you're reprocessing, or even behavioral patterns, or even about your self-worth, all this, is going to affect your ability to earn money or have possessions, whatever this is. But something definitely is about your foundation where even you could even be limiting yourself. It's like, it would be like for me to sit here and say, okay, somebody finally comes to the realization that they're their worst enemy because they're the one that keeps creating the karma in their life. They can't have expansion. They can't have growth. Why? Because of what their own behavior and what they feel about themselves. A lot of people get too comfortable in saying, this is all I can obtain, because I'm not worth anything. It's low self-esteem. When you can, if there's a mountain there in your way, or there's something there that's blocking you, limiting you, or restricting you, you got to work on it, because it's keeping you in a place that's not a good place. If you keep going through all this, now the sun is going to rise at 7:27. So we start out with actually the morning right before the sun comes up at 7:15, and we're looking at all these squares again that's been there. Are you going to work on these now? You're going to look at these and say, I had some sort of spiritual vision here. The ascending now is here in Capricorn. Are you going to take back control of your life and work on these things here that need to be worked on? These challenges about yourself? You're going to work on something about the past, or you can't. A lot of people say, well, the South Node is where you just secrete things, or you just let things go. No, I don't agree in just letting things go. Because what lessons have you learned if you just let it all go? That what? I can't do it, so I'm just going to not do it at all? Or I'm just going to give up on it? Why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself and fail in life? No. Why would you hold yourself back? I mean, if somebody goes around all the time saying, well, I can't accomplish anything, I can't do this and I can't do that, and blah, 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 blah. And they're always putting themselves down and not having faith in something. That's a terrible life to live. I would not want to live that kind of life, because I'm that type of person that every time I've been told I can't do something, and the first thing I kind of look at them and say, watch me. Watch me. That's kind of been my sort of philosophy. Don't tell me I can't do something, because what's bringing this still on is this moon in here, right there at the same degrees with Vista. And the moon being very strong. I mean, the moon is real intense. These emotions are really intense. They are so far. When a when a when a this moon, I don't want to put this, when a planet, I can't really say a planet because the moon's not a planet. It's an illumination. Uh, it's one of the moons. Is the moon of Earth that does the tides. It pulls us in emotional directions. So when it gets to 23 degrees and any minutes over that 23 degrees, it's out of bounds. And right now the moon is at that 28 degrees. Its declination is at 28 degrees. So it's 5 degrees past being out of bounds. And it's not in a negative, it's in a positive. So it's real intense. It's something with the heart and the soul that has got to change. And waking up to something here. And it shows when you deal with these squares that are here, it's up to you. Are you going to take it on? And then how are you going to handle the squares shows what you are like on the inside. I mean, that improves character. The strength that you have. And if you just walk away from challenges and you're not willing to take them on, then guess what? You must be an awful weak person. And I hate to say that because you weren't created to be weak. Nobody was. How can you fight these Lucifer rectangles or all of this evil entity if you don't have the character to stand up and face it and say no? I'm not going to do it. Now, we go to 8:44 Eastern Standard Time in the morning, and this is after sunrise, so now we're in the new day, and the day is being ruled by Mars. So what's the action you're going to take? The hour is at the second hour, which is dealing with the sun. Are you going to take these squares on? Because then we have the ascending that's coming up to Pluto, and look where the ascending is. It's square in the north node and it's square in the south node. And it's having the influence on the moon. And the moon is in this quincunx with Pluto. And what your plan is. That spiritual flame. The moon to Pluto, and Pluto back to your eternal flame, your spiritual flame within you. Your plan, your goal, your aspiration. Are you going to work toward that? Are you going to handle these squares and clean them up? Do something here and and activate that thinking, that mindset. Oh, I'm going to get the hiccups now. Jeez, come on. That's my challenge right now. But we see that the moon is 29 degrees, 11. We see Pluto's at 29 degrees and 11. Because it's fixing to, it's going to be moving into Aquarius next year. And this is going to be moving into Cancer now, where it's going to be really, really intense energy. The full moon. And at 10:16 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, we have the moon now ingresses into Cancer. And that quincunx is still there. Now, what is the quincunx? The quincunx is where it shows the capacity for having awareness and an objectivity at something here. And consciously facing something here in relationships with either bringing something to the light or something has been brought to the light of you for you to see it, or either you're frustrated in some way of you're trying to accomplish something here. Maybe you are taking care of a couple of the, working on a couple of things here. But we still have a couple of T-squares here that have to do with Mercury and Mars squaring Neptune and Vesta squaring Neptune. You're becoming very maybe aware of what you feel and acknowledging now what you feel. Now, how are you going to act on this? Are you going to be inspired to do something here now? Are you going to set a plan in motion? Do you have a goal now you're going to set toward for yourself? You're going to be going through this because the energy is going to change at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. And this is with the moon being in Cancer now, trying Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn is direct. There's an energy from the moon, what you're feeling, because this is really, really intense. And it rules Cancer. So it's in its rulership. And so this energy is trying, you feel, I can overcome whatever limitations there may be here. You're using your creative self-expression in some way to overcome something. Just don't get too comfortable in it. That, you are too overconfident, I would want to say, because trines can sometimes make you feel overconfident, that you could miss something here when you're trying to be this, in your vision or your insight to something. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have a goal that you want to reach, whatever this may be, because this trine is coming back to say, okay, don't be too overconfident, or don't be too relaxed and just whatever this may be. Make sure you got your plan together. Make sure you set your goal, and this is the way you're going to go toward it. And if you come across a limitation, you're going to work to overcome it. Because then what this energy is setting off is this T-squares again that have to do with Mercury and Mars here, and with the moon and Vesta, or with, I think that mostly with Vista. This is with Vista, but it's dealing with these two of Mercury and Mars, like getting your act together before you act. Get your plan together before you act on this vision that you may have. And handle it with grace. Then we have, and then it goes to Mars. Okay, that's like getting your plan together, setting your goal, time limit, or whatever. I'm going to accomplish this in this amount of time. And say, okay, but I got to make sure I've got my plan, and what am I inspired to do here? Whatever it is I'm going to create, I got to make sure I've got it all down pat, just exactly how I'm going to work this and how long I'm going to, how long it will take me, where I want to be in 3 years, where I want to be in 5 years. And then remember, it all has to do with whoever from the past here, or whatever this is that you're bringing right along with you in this. And then we have the yod. I kept telling you, I kept feeling that yod somewhere close by. This is, like I said, 3:30 in the afternoon, and it's the finger of God. And what is this here? Venus to Pluto. It's the love for you to save you from whatever hell you've been going through. Because that's going to depart, okay? And what this shows me, yes, Pluto's going to move into Aquarius and it's going to start looking at humanity and society and all these things. And how there's going to be this tear down in society. And people are going to have to wake up. They're going to have to gain knowledge, search for the knowledge and skills and talents that they have. Use their mind. Not so much their actions. Not so much the communication, but more about discovering the knowledge. But remember that Pluto will, at next year, will move back into, toward the end of the year, will move back into Capricorn at the same degrees. To say, hey, how you doing? I haven't left you. I still, the key's there with whatever the struggle is. Because there is this quincunx here. From Pluto to Pluto to Vesta, and from Venus to Vesta. How's the plan going? Are you staying focused? Are you working toward that plan? Everything going okay? God, when He lifts us up and elevates us, He doesn't just go away and not be around. He's still around. That's why I always used to love that song with Jerry Lewis about, I said the other day about the muscular dystrophy. You never walk alone. You're never alone. You don't have to be alone. There's a higher power here. And with that quincunx, it shows that the energies, there's something going on here in your plan or what you're aspiring to achieve or accomplish here. And then you're going to have that courage, that strength to make a decision here, to make some sort of adjustment to the plan. You can't act on something without making sure you've got everything together. And God's saying, hey, He's pointing at something that has to do with your plan. So you may need to revise the plan of whatever you're going to do here, what you're going to create. And what you're feeling, because the moon's going to get, it's still intense. Because then we have the trapezoid, where you're focused at now. Where's your foundation? Right here. Because this is fixing to go direct in about 4 days, on the 30th. Can't build something unless it's on a solid foundation. The walls will not stand. But there's something here with the moon that is in opposition to two illuminators here, because it's going to be a full moon. So this is where at 7. Oh, wait, that's 19, isn't it? I looked at it wrong. About 8:33 Eastern Standard Time, the moon is in opposition with the sun. We've got 2 T-squares here. Has to deal with Mercury. Again, with Mars. You got to think these two are right there together. You're rethinking something here. We've got a double key yod as well. That has to do with the sun. And the ascending. And Saturn. So the foundation is really looking and what restrictions are here to the ascending in a love affair, a relationship, a romantic, children, something here. Or your confidence, your strength, your ability. It's being very confident to overcome something here. Saying, I'm not going to give up. Whatever this is like if you want it, then you've got to more or less fight for it. You got to stand your ground on a solid, firm ground. You can't go in on a lie because that's not a solid, firm ground. You can't go on in an illusion. That's not a solid ground. You got to come pure and honest and true and correct and know this is what I truly want. And sometimes we have to fight real hard for it. You want it, you got to fight for it. And it goes back to Venus. She being detriment. There's something here you can definitely overcome, but you're going to have the courage to make the decision. And you're going to have to, because you're going to be working toward these squares. And it's a double keyed yod. That means like divine has the key to unlock something here for you. But you've got to have the courage to make the decision. Do you really want this? But are you coming correct? Are you pure in your heart? Do you really desire this? Are you going to work for this? And we have the trapezoid again. Back to that same place. But this time it's not so much the plan, it's what you feel. Are you confident in your plan? Are you confident in your goal that you can achieve it? This is where you cross the I's, dot the T's, you go over everything and make sure this is exactly really what you want. Don't play games. Because this is where the sun is in opposition with that moon, and it's a full moon. And this is, like I said, 8:33 Eastern Standard Time. Now, the next thing we have that's going to finish up this day is going to be the moon in Cancer in a sextile to Jupiter, retrograde, both of them being at 5 degrees. And now we have the sail, which is definitely dealing with the South Node. And the North Node. But there's something here missing. There's not an opposition. And it's dealing with the ascending and Mercury. There's no trying there either. It's just, where's the... It's like a full sail moving forward. And it's what's really here at the top. Something about the future is what's at the foundation of this. But it's dealing with something of the past here. We have the next sail that has to do with now. You got to get that sail up and you got to get going. It's also known as a kite. The sails are known as a kite. But it shows what we want to, where our standing is, or where the grounding is. And it's all about the future. But taking care of something here from the past. What are we going to take with us? What is going to sail with us? Every time I look at the sail or the kite or something like that, I think of that Six of Swords, of taking and getting in that boat, raising the sail, and moving on. Now, we do have a yacht here as well, but we have 2 T-squares that we got to deal with. And again, it has to do with Mercury, to our vision, to our goal, an eternal flame, a spiritual flame, our aspirations, and something, how are we going to do it? Mars. What action are you going to take? There's something here. The opposition isn't there, okay? And this may not be easy because maybe something goes too fast, too quickly, or you're trying to go too fast because your sail or your kite, if it doesn't have that middle piece, it's not sturdy. There's something missing here in the sail. And then we have the yod, or maybe it's something to do with faith. You're still having maybe some trouble with faith. Or maybe you're a little something with your courage. You're not really that quite confident about something here. In your plan or in the goal. Because if you're dealing with something from the past, maybe a past relationship or something here, you got another person you got to deal with. And you don't know if they're going to go along with your plan. You don't know if they're going to agree to something here. Are they going to start anew? Are they going to start anew with you? I mean, I would say if you're going back to somebody that you want to start a new thing with and a clean slate with, you better clean out or clear the air first. Don't go in there thinking, oh yeah, they're going to give me another chance and blah, blah, and all this. And I don't see the confidence there that they, because when you're dealing with somebody else that maybe has been really hurt by a lot of things here, they may not be quite on the bandwagon. So don't go in overconfident. You need to go in and clear the air. You need to be upfront. You need to come correct. You need to be honest and true. Don't go in there lying. They're going to pick up on it and just slam the door right in your face. Because we're dealing with relationships here. And a lot of people may be looking at things like, with this new year coming and the future coming and all this, and life's been kind of hell and all that's going on. And it's like, a lot of people have learned some really valuable lessons about people. They've learned lessons, and they're not gonna, because then we have this trapezoid here again, back to the same thing. But this time, the only difference is the opposition is this full moon. The energy being very, very intense, still at 28 degrees. So I'm not going to say the heart's not there or the emotions are not there. Definitely something here with some people, but there could be somebody else that's questioning somebody's intention here. because, you know, again, it's like, even if this has to deal with, I'll say it at the end here, and we're talking like at a quarter to, let's see, it's 10, no, um, the full moon is at not 8:30, it's at 7:33. And 8, almost a quarter to 9, 8:45, is when this trapezoid happens. So don't get too comfortable in something here, because there is that opposition of the full moon. You know, people's feelings are going to be very intense. And this, like I was going to say something about, even if this is about a job, sometimes the divine wants us out of certain jobs that are not right for us. But whatever it is, it's definitely the divine showing his finger and its fate and destiny about your plan, your goal. Are you being really sincere in love of what you desire here? Don't go playing games with people, because the only one that's going to come hurt out of this, if you have that attitude that you're going to go in there and you think you're going to just, you know, tempt somebody and all this, and think you're going in there with that same old thing, like I can get them back and blah blah, you know, all I got to do is just show up. I mean, there's some women got attitudes like that too, you know. I can get him back anytime I want him. Well, you go on with that attitude and go in there and you're going to get your feelings hurt, because people are fed up. They are really fed up with the garbage, and they're fed up with the evilness. They've had it. So don't think you can go in there and just tempt somebody and you can sway them back to you. Because you got to remember something here. You're dealing with somebody that already knows you, that knows probably quite a bit about you. So don't go in there playing games. If you don't go in there with a pure heart, and like I said, if you don't come correct, don't even bother. So that's what I got for you guys. Like I said, please give the video a thumb up, because you're only going to get the honesty truth here. Okay, I'm not going to say, you know, everything's lovely, everything's fine, somebody's returning. You know, people could be returning, but you just don't know what the motives are. And I do, when I do the tarot, I do use the astrology of what I'm looking at. You know, if I see the card is a planet, I'll look and see where that planet is and what house it's in for that particular sign that I might be reading for. Right now, you know, I do a little bit different if it's a private reading, but if it's a general reading, it may not have anything to do with you as much so as something else that's going on that you may not even be aware of. So, but support the channel by giving a thumbs up on the videos. Also, you can comment below, and subscribe to the channel. That helps. Two things: giving a video a thumbs up, or 3. I'll take that back. 3. Giving a thumbs up to the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing the link to others is the biggest support you can give to any creator on YouTube. And putting the word out there. We should support all the creators and what they do. So I appreciate you being here and spending time with me. If you got any questions, please address them below in the comment area. I see them when they come in. And I get back to it just as quick as I can. As soon as I see it and notice it, I'll respond. Okay? So thank you for being here with me. Thank you for viewing these videos. Thank you for sharing the links. Also, thank you for being with me and taking an interest in my work. But like I said, I'm going to put the truth out there. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And, sometimes life is hell. And sometimes we need to know we're in hell. And how do we get out of it? And don't think, a lot of people, wonder when somebody's coming back. Why not work on yourself? Heal whatever wound you have. Because it will not work if you don't do the healing work. Any therapist will tell you that. That's the first thing they'll say. You don't put the effort in, you don't put the work in, you're not going to be able to heal anything. You're going to be living the same routine again. So I love y'all. I appreciate you being here, like I said, and all your support. And I hope you have a happy new year and that you're learning something as well. That's the big thing, is that you're learning here. Okay? And so I will say good night.